Yo, what's up, Live All Good podcast listeners? It is another episode of your favorite podcast, Cruzin with the Coaches, a conversation with Julie and Lee. Well, you don't want to miss this episode because while, yes, there are things that are masculine energy and feminine energy, well, we talk about something that's toxic femininity, and we also mention toxic masculinity. We have that conversation coming up next.
Our priority at Blue Monarch Communications is building your confidence as an effective presenter. Whether you're preparing for a formal presentation, a keynote address, an interview, or presenting an idea or concept to your team or your clients, we are here to ensure that you are poised to effectively communicate your content while engaging and connecting with your audience. Let our team help you shine.
Hey folks, this is Lee Grigsby here, health and life coach and founder of Live All Good Coaching. I'll be on the air with Podcast Business News Network, talking about the various things around health and wellness and mental health. Also talking about how mindset is critical to achieving the goals that you set for yourself. You can reach me at liveallgood44@gmail.com, or you can go to my website, liveallgood.com, and fill out the contact form and reach me there. Once again, that's liveallgood.com. Go to the About section, fill out the contact form, or you can reach me at liveallgood44@gmail.com. Hey folks, welcome back from the short break there. We are here with another great episode of Cruzin with the Coaches, conversation with Julie and Lee. Of course, I am Julie. You're here with my co-host Lee. I'm kidding, y'all. I'm kidding.
Hey, it's perfect with our topic, though.
Yeah, right. No, you guys, what's up? It's Lee and Julie. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Uh-oh. Yeah, this is going to be a good one, y'all. So, first of all, let's just address the birthday queen in the house, you know.
Stop.
No, it's all good.
It's over. But it's all good.
Yeah, well, hey, we're going to celebrate the whole year. So
Yes.
But I say we jump right into it. So
Okay.
there is this term that's out there, and yes, I've actually Googled it, and I will read what I found. But I think it's better if you tell our listeners what this topic is today and what we're talking about.
So, I'm just bringing it to the forefront just because I'm a tad bit bothered by the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that they're trying to, and maybe it's always existed. I don't know. But now they're bringing it to the forefront, and therefore it's making me feel some type of way. Okay. Let's just say it out loud. But this toxic femininity, like, really? Like, do we have to? And I guess it's more bothersome based on what coattails it's riding on. So, we previously talked about Jada Pinkett and Will Smith and that whole situation.
Sure.
And so now we're going into what's going on with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about, this, like I said, they're trying to bring this toxic femininity to light. And I'm just like, it's really not about being feminine or masculine. It's about just being toxic people, like you can be one way with one person and be totally different with another person. And I don't think anything of what is happening has anything to deal with gender. I mean, we're talking passiveness and aggressiveness, period. And you can be that way whether you're male or female. But I mean, I'll go ahead. You go ahead and you can read what's under this little Google.
What's funny?
What's to say?
I would say like pre-show, we were talking about it, and I was like, wait, that's a thing? That's like that toxic femininity exists? Like,
right.
Because I get, it's been a patriarchal dominated society, right? So therefore the phrase toxic masculinity, that one, like, I completely understand that. I see where that comes from.
Yeah.
So this is what our Google search brings up. Before I read this, I guess this definition of toxic femininity, there was another, how the section comes up with other topics that people ask about what you're searching, right?
Yeah.
So before I get to the definition, this other signs or what people ask about toxic femininity. Some common signs include, sorry, and I don't mean to laugh.
The symptoms are.
Like, I laugh because you literally just spelled out what being a toxic person is, right?
Right.
It's not male, female, right? So anyway, let me get
it's just toxic. Okay.
Yeah, right. It says toxic signs, common signs of toxic femininity include being passive aggressive, okay, such as fake laugh, eye rolling, silence, patronizing, okay. Another sign is being hypercritical, okay. Another, now this can go both ways because you can put the label men or women here. So shaming other women for their bodies, sexual choices, whatever. It doesn't say whatever. It says shaming them for their bodies, sexual choices, being jealous, envious of other women, being overly emotional, creating unnecessary drama. Okay.
So I mean, so men can't do any of these things.
No, let me take this one. I got this one.
Okay.
That's why I was trying not to laugh when I was reading this, right? Because I'm sitting here and I'm like, but those, fine, those are signs of toxicity, right?
Correct.
I can agree with that. But when you get to the shaming of other women, I'm sorry. So are you trying, just like you said, are you trying to tell me that men don't shame other men?
Right.
Right. Now, because it looks differently, or because society, okay. Yeah. Let's go down this rabbit hole for a minute. I think this is why you will get people to be like, no, men don't shame other men, right? A man doesn't look at another man and say, oh man, you get gym thing, right? Small calves, or oh, you can't bench press this. But people do, like, it happens. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like kids, I would say teenage or young men, young boys will body shame other boys, right?
Easily.
For being fat, for being short, for being
thin,
whatever. Yeah, all of that. So the body shaming happens. What was the other one I read? The sexual choices. Oh my gosh. I mean, do I have to go there with, like, do you mean to tell me that guys don't criticize other guys for, one, who they've slept with, right? Is it not a shaming thing if guys will shame? Oh, I guess that becomes homophobic, not toxic, right? But if you shame a guy if he's gay or something like that, is that not shaming? Right? Like, it still falls under this umbrella of toxicity.
Right.
So yeah, and then I was So yeah, another sign, like we said, or like this reads on Google, being jealous or envious of other women. Gee, I've never heard in history where men have been jealous or envious of other men.
No, I mean, you guys get
Never.
along perfect all the time.
Totally.
I mean, I think you guys hold hands and walk down the street singing Kumbaya.
No, because then that would be shaming.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're holding hands.
Yeah, right. Like, you see why it was hard for me not to laugh at this.
Yeah,
like, it's almost silly. Okay. The one thing that people probably won't say is how men are being overly emotional or dramatic. But no.
But that's because but it's because that's not tied to men, which is, I'm sorry, total BS. Because the fact that because the it's
total
so evident that it is okay for a man to be emotional. In fact, it's probably easier to receive him as being a complete person if he is emotional. So it's just kind of like, okay, so we're going back to that. We're going back to I'm amazed at
that this is
how,
the thing.
Yes. And that the media we allow the media to open things up and pull us down into this situation, because the fact that it's just ridiculous.
The fact that we're sitting here talking about it,
having
our conversation.
Let's not give it no energy.
Well, no, because we got to shoot it down. We got to shoot it down.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So I'm gonna dive into this article a bit, right? The article that was the first thing that came up, and it was written on April 16th, okay, of 2022. So by the time this episode airs, that will probably been a little bit of a month or so, but it's a relatively new article. This says that toxic femininity is a broad term that refers to a rigid or repressive definition of womanhood, including pressures women face to restrict themselves to stereotypically feminine traits and characteristics. Toxic femininity refers to the adherence to the gender binary in order to receive conditional value in patriarchal societies. It is a concept that restricts women to being cooperative, passive, sexually submissive, gentle, and deriving their value from physical beauty while being pleasing to men. Is that
I'm zipping it.
Yeah, I wish we were live, because I would like, okay, let's go to break. And after the break, but no, we're not going to go to break. Where do I begin with this? Okay, hold on. Let me finish it in this same article. Okay. And we'll go back to this toxic femininity. So it goes on to say that if toxic masculinity encourages violence and domination in order to uphold the power dynamic, then toxic femininity supports the silent acceptance of violence and domination in order to survive. Okay, so I think
interesting,
right? I think I see where they're going with toxic femininity.
Right, but within the two cases to which this word has been derived, or I guess not derived, but been used the most, it's not necessarily the case.
Correct. That's the
so
key.
Here we go with the media not using things to what they are supposed,
or using something to get, just like you said, the media taking us in that direction to make us feel a certain way, or to put the situation in a box where they want people to take it. Right. So this makes much more sense, right? In terms of, so I guess briefly, we got to talk about toxic masculinity, right? Right. Wherein, like that article said, it encourages this domination from men, right? Correct. And the toxic femininity basically supports that domination by being silent and passive in order to survive. Okay.
Correct.
I'm with you in the fact that this is based off of a binary men, women, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But I'm with you that it doesn't matter about being a man or a woman when it comes to being toxic.
Exactly.
There are people who are just toxic, and sometimes there are people who get together who just increase the toxicity.
Correct.
Because neither one of them has addressed their toxicity. So therefore, it's like narcissistic people.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. If you put two of them together, it's probably not going to work.
Right.
Because narcissistic people,
neither's going to stand down.
Exactly. And they feed off of someone who, low self-esteem, that kind of thing. They draw, It's like a vampire, sucking blood. That's how they work. Yep. And that's how toxic people work too, right?
Right.
They, either the passive aggressiveness or the shaming, it's always your fault. If you did it this way, I just don't see that being a male trait or a female trait.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about, folks. Like this. So don't get it twisted. When you start hearing this toxic femininity thing, listen, like, I guess what we're saying now is pay attention to the context in which it's a headline or in which it's excuse me, in which it's being said, like on television, right? Because I think we just shot a hole in their theory of how they were trying to use it.
Right.
Like, so let's reel it all the way back. I believe they were using it in the context, like we said, of this whole slap that was heard around the world.
Right.
And, because I believe Jada Smith started her Red Table Talk series again, and maybe started addressing that they're doing deep family healing, something I hadn't paid attention to it that much.
Yeah.
But I think that that's where this toxic femininity phrase is now being used, right?
Right. It's between this and then the Johnny Depp situation, right, with
Amber
Heard.
Right. And so let's take that video that we all saw during the Oscars. And I'm sure they're going to try to apply that because Jada didn't say a word. And she smiled after the slap happened, I get, all this passive aggressive behavior. But I'm sorry, and just because I said that I would have done the same thing that Will did, his behavior was passive aggressive also.
Right.
So how do we take one of them and say it's toxic and the other one is not? Or are we being fair? And by we, I say the media, so we're not really talking about us. but shouldn't it be fair, right? That was an example of toxic masculinity and toxic femininity.
Correct.
If that's how you're going to talk about it. But you don't get to mention one of them without mentioning the other.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So good. Thank you, Google, for helping us sort through that. That was just so you know what? I do want to take a break because I do want to dive into actually how we research topics and trending topics. Not you and I, but us as people.
Yeah.
That sound good?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So hey folks, hang tight because we're gonna take a break and let you digest that whole toxic femininity, toxic masculinity thing, and we'll be right back. Hey folks, this is Lee Grigsby here, health and life coach and founder of Live All Good Coaching. I'll be on the air with Podcast Business News Network talking about the various things around health and wellness and mental health. Also talking about how mindset is critical to achieving the goals that you set for yourself. You can reach me at liveallgood44@gmail.com, or you can go to my website, liveallgood.com, and fill out the contact form and reach me there. Once again, that's liveallgood.com. Go to the About section, fill out the contact form, or you can reach me at liveallgood44@gmail.com.
Our priority at Blue Monarch Communications is building your confidence as an effective presenter. Whether you're preparing for a formal presentation, a keynote address, an interview, or presenting an idea or concept to your team or your clients, we are here to ensure that you are poised to effectively communicate your content while engaging and connecting with your audience. Let our team help you shine.
All right, folks. Thank you for hanging with us and diving into what we are talking about with toxic femininity. I know we mentioned toxic masculinity as well. Julie,
Yes.
I really do hate to laugh, because it's not, I'm laughing, folks, because this is almost like super silly. It's hard for me to take what they're saying seriously,
Right.
because what we're talking about is toxicity.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gender related. I mean, I guess it can be, but I mean, specifically in these situations, like what I will say about the whole Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation is, I love so the fact that so many people are coming to his aid and basically saying this is not within his personality. This is not within the realm of who he is as a human being. And the fact that, I mean, so even if you go with Amber, who's sitting there talking about, well, this is the makeup that I use when he used to beat the crap out of me and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm not saying anything. I am not for, any kind of physical abuse towards anyone, male or female.
Sure.
But as she is sitting here saying she is doing that, you now have the makeup company coming to his aid to state, we didn't make that during the year she is claiming that she used it. So it's just kind of like,
yeah,
her false claim could have been anything, and just because she's a female and it was about makeup.
And that's the problem. Just because of that, it was labeled as a feminine thing, right?
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, well, specifically, if it was, the roles were reversed, I mean, would we have said the same thing if it was him having to use CoverGirl to cover up? So I'm just like, come on, let's just do better, people. It's toxic all around.
Let's do away with the label, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm probably going to spread some gossip and rumor here. But I did hear, didn't she do number 2 in his bed?
In his bed.
Now,
there ain't nothing feminine about that. Not a damn thing feminine about that. I'm sorry.
But that's all the way toxic.
That's all the way toxic.
And literally, feces is toxic. It's waste. So that's more toxic than just abstract.
Yeah.
So what do we? Wow. Yeah. I had heard that and I was like, is that a
I was
thing?
Like, what?
Like
what's that? I'm like, oh
yeah. And on
did
purpose,
I hear that right?
intentionally.
Yes.
Yeah. That's, I mean, now I know, we both got kids, so if your kids do it when they're potty training, or they're in
Right?
diapers. That's not toxic. They're just learning how to.
They're just learning.
I got to
things
use.
you learn
Right.
like after 3, you know, not to do.
But grown
come
folks
on now.
purposely taking a poo in
your bed.
Like it wasn't an accident. It wasn't like, oh man.
Yeah. Like I said, nothing feminine about that.
Oh yeah, at all. Sorry,
Terrible.
just had to throw that in there. but so I want to touch, before I touch on more of this article, right? That actually, so let me just say this, because this is the point. When you're searching for information or researching anything that we say, right, or anything to hear out in the world, whatever, search engines are great tools. Whether you prefer Google, Bing, whatever, right, Yahoo, they're great things. They give information, but they only give you headlines. So when I started researching this pre-show, we're talking about this coined phrase, toxic femininity, and certain things came up, right? If I had not gone deeper into this article, I would not have realized that it actually did a fairly decent job of using the toxic masculinity and femininity together, right? It actually does a decent job of that. And folks, I'll post it with our episode in the show notes, so you can read it for yourself and determine whatever you want. But yeah, right. If I don't go deeper and read the article, or then read other articles, look for other information, then all I'm going to say is, oh, this article about toxic femininity, it's a real thing, right? As opposed to being able to make a pretty educated assumption here that, oh, no, toxic is toxic. Toxicity is not feminine or masculine, right? And it starts to, so this article then starts to go into different things that are considered the feminine part of it, right? But it's true, and it's only true because these are feminine or masculine constructs that are created by social norms, right? So that doesn't mean that it's true. It just is true when you're looking at things from this binary lens. As we now know that we have to kind of expand our lens a little bit, or look through someone else's lens, right? Like, we know that. And so if you know that, then you have to practice that. So I just wanted to point out, like, you know, people don't search out information that simply confirms what you think you already know. Don't do that. Search out information that helps you expand or makes you go, right? If it makes you pause and think, oh, that's possible. Or maybe I was thinking about this in an incorrect or different way, right?
Like, how can I respond to it differently? You know, or how can I bring knowledge to a person who might bring up the same topic and doesn't realize the article that I read, and I can, you know, say to them, hey, like, this is, you know, but absolutely, yeah, toxic people are toxic people.
That's just it. It's just toxicity. Well, you know, so I'll mention a few things this brings up also, right? So some of the toxic femininity, I guess, components, if you will. It says like being docile, right? Hyper femininity is another one of these components of it. Policing the femininity of others. Or sabotaging, sabotaging and abusing traditionally feminine qualities. Like, I think we just start getting into a problem with labels, you know? That's what I'm really starting to see. And so I remember saying this during the episode where we talked about the slap, right? You get into problems when you start having to put labels or things in boxes to make them fit what you already think.
Right. Because what it is you're protecting your own comfort. That's all it is. You're completely protecting your own comfort. So if I don't want to deal with this, I'm going to place it in this box. And then I'm going to walk away, put it away, or whatever it is, you know? So it's just realizing that, guess what? There are things that are drawing your attention because they need your attention. And you've got to take the time. You've got to.
You cannot ignore it. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Because if you put it in that box, it's almost like okay, here's a good visual. Hoarders are toxic to themselves, right?
Right.
Because what do? They may not be, it may not be neat, right? So let's call it an undercover hoarder, right?
Okay.
Someone who keeps everything, but packs it away, right? Always has storage boxes. So you go in their house and you may not know, right? They're just like, wow, you're pretty organized. Okay. But you don't see that their basement is full of storage bins, right?
Okay.
You don't see that their attic is full of storage bins. So all this time they're hoarding these things and they're not able to grow because they're holding on and not sorting through any of it, right?
Right.
It's just, I'm gonna keep packing this away. I'll get to it later. I'll go through it later. That's toxic to themselves.
Right.
So what we're saying is the same thing about being toxic as far as feelings, emotions, and communication, right?
Correct.
Do not put things in a box just because it's uncomfortable. If it's uncomfortable, guess what? That gives you reason to pause and think, why is it uncomfortable?
Right.
Is it something that challenges the way you've been doing things forever? Well, maybe you can change. Or you get to determine, no, this is okay, but I'm open to the possibility of something different as well.
Right.
Like we're not saying you have to change, but wow. Yeah, just you don't want to continue to search out information that just confirms what you already know, that stays in the same box. There's no growth there. There's no growth. And the more boxes you put in and don't get rid of that baggage, guess what? You can't grow as a person.
Right.
Not, well, you can't grow as a man, or you can't grow as a woman. Like, like you can't grow as a person, period.
Right.
Like that's just what it is, folks.
So if it's a tree, it's a man.
Right.
It's a flower, it's a woman. Get out of here.
I'm kind of offended by that. How come I can't be the flower? And how come you can't be the tree?
That's I'm a big oak. Why are you playing?
Oh, yeah, man. I think we get really stuck on boxing and labeling stuff to make it feel comfortable.
Yeah. So true.
So I think a good homework point for our listeners is, folks, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Practice that, because what you'll find is you get to have much more in-depth conversations with people that you may have thought you wouldn't have. You maybe get to dive into your own character and realize, maybe I am a bit of a jerk. Maybe I do need to change.
Right.
Like, that's okay if you realize that. But if you constantly stay in your comfort zone, you'll never grow from it. So I encourage all of our listeners to do that. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And in a month's time, you'll find that you probably have grown in ways you didn't think you would. Any last thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with, Julie, before we end today's episode?
I guess for me, it would just be the whole idea of a toxic relationship, period. If you are with somebody, I don't care, male, female, whatever your orientation is, if you are in a situation where that particular relationship is not bringing you growth, is not bringing you joy, is not helping you to be a better person, and vice versa, because it's got to be reciprocated. And if it's not in a situation where that is the case, then you have to walk away. You know, you have to do what's best for you and what's best for that other person, because maybe you are trying really hard and the other person's just not ready to receive you. It's very possible, you know, and and vice versa. And like I said, you know, we keep talking, it goes both ways. There's not one person is going to be right and the other person's wrong. You just got to be in it together.
Love it. Good advice, my friend. That's coaching 101. Well, you guys, we have appreciated being here on another Wednesday with you. This is Cruising with the Coaches, a conversation with Julie and Lee. You can find us on Google, on Apple, on Spotify, Amazon, and there's a couple other platforms that we're on. Hopefully one day we'll go live, but we'll let you know before we do that. In the meantime, it's been a blast as usual being with you on a Wednesday, and we'll catch you in a couple weeks.